No, I needed to have people, I need everybody to sign this document.
No, no.
Is Karen on coming tonight?
She's not coming. She's sick.
Just because I didn't sign it. I'll be right back.
How did you get my Yes.
She said in the morning that she was not feeling well and not sure if she was coming, so I guess she's not coming.
Well, I gave you a section of the law.
Yeah.
We could cite them, but it was always my understanding that DPW enforced it, but yet it mentions me in there. So, I mean, I can't keep this in a violation. Jim,
Today,
Yes,
this board finishes its part of the budget process after 9 budget meetings. When we were first presented with the proposed budget, we were faced with serious decisions to make this a fiscally responsible budget while still maintaining the services that our residents need and deserve. This board has been committed to vetting each budget line to reduce expenses. We started with an operating loss of $835,544 in the general fund. One option was to balance the budget. One option to balance the budget was to utilize $835,544 out of the unreserved fund balance of $977,586. This would have left a balance of $142,042. Ongoing expenses should not be funded with one-time reserves. By the way, the total deficit for all 3 funds was $1,222,364. The raising of taxes was always an option, but not one that should be taken without due diligence and vetting of all reduction possibilities, and not a decision this board chose. Going through this budget line by line, we were able to find many different areas to reduce spending. Many of the decisions were made after visiting individual departments to see firsthand where the needs were and if all requests for funding were critical. All departments were reviewed. I feel we did our due diligence. We were fiscally minded while realizing the needs of the departments in our community. To date, this board has trimmed $330,014 from the presented deficit of $1,222,364, or an equivalent of 27%. By all standards, this is a substantial and respectable reduction. Our commitment produced a fiscally responsible budget. This board is now challenged to increase revenue sources to help fund future expenses. We will continue to make decisions daily that will affect our future in Fredonia. The current unreserved fund balance is now at a level to assist in funding unexpected expenses. I hope that the changes we have made to this budget will best serve the village of Fredonia in the ensuing year. I personally want to thank my fellow board members for their cooperation during this process. Thank you.
Very good. Yeah, I'd like to say a few words also. This was my first budget, and I'd like to thank Rick St. George for his cooperation and help me understand all aspects of the budget. I spent a lot of time talking with former trustees, administrators, and department heads to understand the whole budget process. Twice during this process, a department head thought that felt that this was a joke and found it funny, which I do not. And I take my decision making that spends taxpayers' money very seriously. I spent countless hours trying to separate the needs and wants of each department to provide the best equipment and personnel for each. I have no specific agenda in my decision making on this budget. I want to keep the necessary funding to keep the village solvent and to pay our bills today and in the future. I'd like to thank our other board members in working with us to come up with a fiscally responsible budget. And I'd like to thank Trustee Essick for supporting my ideas and suggestions and brainstorming on ways to help reduce the deficit and collaborating on creative ways to reuse existing equipment amongst our departments.
Do you want to add something? Trustee Barrios?
No.
And Linda?
I think we worked very hard on this budget. We did work together on this budget. We did have some decrease in revenues, such as from the state. We did not receive this year's from the state part of the AIM funding, which was per capita funding, which reduced our revenues by $10,000. There was a lot of items this year that were needed attending to that were either unexpected or should have been addressed over the years that we have been addressing and trying to address. All the departments needed a lot of attention. We're working very hard at that, very diligently, to bring the community into have a strong economy. I think that we may, we have a lot more to do in the future years, but I think we did a great job on working on this budget from where we stand. It's amazing what a small community with a very small amount of funding can do when you compare it to others, even cities. We've worked very hard to supply the services that a community like ours deserves. I wish the state would pay a little more attention to that, but thank you to our board members for working on this.
Okay, and one last thing. I gave the trustees a budget that had, it was going into the fund balance by about $800,000. That's true. But we have to keep in mind, or at least I have to keep in mind, that I started from one that was close to $2 million. So I got a lot of money before I gave it to them. My hope is that we're going to focus on ways to raise revenue instead of ways of cutting, although that's inevitable as well. But raise revenue, save money by being effective and being efficient with what we do is the most important thing. So I'd like to thank the board for their work, and with that, let's go. Let's move ahead. Then we have the abstract 500, number 500 approval. Then the real property tax levy for 2018-2019, which I understand stays the same. Okay. Then I have asked to be authorized to sign the temporary loan of student artwork, loan from SUNY Student Artwork. Just a comment on that, and I'm hoping that everybody's going to be okay with that. After we had this first meeting and we discussed a little bit artwork in the village hall, had some local artists call me and ask me if they would be able to bring their own artwork. I think that's a fair question. If they sign the same contract, I would feel that it's okay for them to exhibit one or two of their artworks. So how would you feel about that?
Very positive.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I felt. Thank you very much. That's
Just so
great.
you know, this contract is actually on a per student basis, that you will have individual contracts for each student.
Yes.
Does that.
Yes,
Okay.
that's the
Okay.
understanding.
Right.
Because,
It's not
you know,
just
they
a-
have to sign off.
Right, exactly.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, of course.
Just want to make sure
Yes.
everybody knows
A-
that.
And then it's going to be for individual artists,
Mhm.
if and when they would like, and we approve their work.
Right.
Okay, very good. And then we have the procedure regarding the resolutions, as we started the discussion last time.
I'm kind of disappointed are we voting on the resolution right now, because I did have some concerns, and it doesn't seem like things had changed or any, we're just moving forward with what we have, so I'm kind of disappointed in that.
And I wasn't here for that workshop, but I did review it on YouTube. I had an opportunity to watch the workshop on YouTube. So I have, I had a few questions myself, and I don't know if this is the time to address them, but my opinion basically is our charter was set up in such a fashion that the only thing we need to modify would be a specific time or date that we need to have this resolution submitted to the clerk. Other than that, I don't feel that we need to move forward in anything new. Just my opinion.
Well, the board has the authority to table something if they're not ready to vote on it,
Right.
just so that you know. I mean, you don't have to vote on it if this came to the table late in the day today.
Right.
As luck would have it.
I mean, during the workshop session that I missed, there was quite a lengthy discussion. But other than that, I just don't feel that, I was part of that discussion. And I just want to voice my opinion.
So I think the attorney's idea was to make it a little more organized and a little less work on the clerk to put resolutions all together at the last moment, and for the board to have the time to review the resolutions from Wednesday to Monday. And then the resolutions are going to be based on something that we discussed before, am I correct? Yeah, and that's not going to be just out of the air, except if there is for abstract or things like that.
Mayor, I mean, the reason that we need a resolution is actually exemplified by the resolution itself. I mean, in this case, I presented it to resolution form in writing a couple meetings ago to the entire board. We did have a lengthy discussion about it last time. I made mention it really would be appropriate to be sponsored by the entire board since it's your rules and your resolution. I thought that everything was going the way it usually should. By the time I found out that it was not included in this agenda, I called the Village Hall a couple of days in a row. We're so grossly understaffed, I couldn't even get anybody on the phone to add it until late today. So, I mean, this is the reason that we need this. We need some structure. This is a multi-million-dollar corporation, and I really think we need some policies to run it like that.
Well, there's a perfect example.
Exactly. So,
I mean, you tried to, this was submitted today?
no, it was given to, didn't I give you?
Friday?
Was, well, no, 2 meetings.
No, I
ago.
got that, but
Okay.
as for putting it on today's agenda, when was that put on?
Yeah, like I said, we thought it had been done. By the time we found out it wasn't on there, it was a rush job, and it's exactly why we need this resolution. We need some policies on that to get things done better, rather than just throwing it to the wind and having everybody rely on everybody else to do it.
Sure, no, I understand. But I think an ample time frame would satisfy that. I don't think we need to change anything other than that.
Well, under the code, you really don't have anything. I mean, what you've got is 493 pages of code. Most of it is building code. You don't have anything at all on the procedures of this board. As Rick gave us some historical memory, this has been tried in the past, but it always fails because too many exceptions are made. And so what I thought we would do, because the board wanted it and expressed to me to get this done, I thought we'd start new day, new rules, and then everybody knows where we are going forward. If you have any questions, I mean, this is the workshop, now's the time. I'd be happy to answer whatever I can.
Okay.
Yeah, my question was where I felt the parts of the meeting were the public portion. It wasn't specific under our code, but it's also covered under village law. Specifically, they have a certain section in there that specifically covers all that in detail. That it seems like when any other procedure that we don't have under our charter, we automatically go to village law currently, and I guess I would have thought that we would have gone to that. And I realize you said last meeting we took it from basically City of Dunkirk's language and Silver Creek, but City of Dunkirk's a city and Silver Creek's a village that doesn't operate under charter, so I was not comfortable with those sections, that's all.
There's nothing in the code or in the charter. And that, as you said, the village law under New York State is really a gap filler provision if we don't have our own way of doing things. But again, it's very gray, and what I was told was, give folks some guidance. So that's what we were trying to do.
I just felt that those sections that I have questions on would lead to further curtailment of even, of us, the trustees, at some point in time. That's where I see that going in that direction. I didn't like the direction it was going. I just see it going a different direction, and I'm just not comfortable with that.
I mean, if you give me something specific, I can address it. Other than that, I can't help you.
I don't like putting the comments of the public and that under the mayor's discretion. I don't feel it's proper. I feel it's kind of censorship in a way. I realize they can't talk about things that absolutely don't mean anything, but as we've seen in different times, with myself as an example, when I brought up the roundabout because it was not of the popular favor of the mayor, it was stifled and I was told to, move on. So that's the direction I see this moving here, to be perfectly honest with you.
Well, the public comment portion of the board meeting wouldn't affect your ability to speak at all because you have your own comment portion. The regulations trying to organize the public portion, like I said to you last time, I mean, if you've ever been in a meeting where whoever it was, the mayor, the councilman at large, whatever, has to shut somebody down for what they're saying, basically it's obvious at that point to everybody in the room except for the person that's speaking that they should stop speaking. And what we need to do is build a provision in there just so we can say, all right, now come on, you're done. But that does not affect the ability of the board to speak on any issue. In fact, the way we're doing it, we're setting up a procedure where you have the ability to speak during a workshop, you have the ability to speak during the meeting before your vote, and you also have the ability to speak during the meeting on anything else you'd like to speak on. So really, we're kind of giving you more opportunities to speak specifically on this, not less. That's the intention.
That's currently what we do currently, but I don't see that in that language. It doesn't appear to be that straightforward.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'd be happy to change it if you'd like something different, but I mean, that's the idea.
Okay. I'm just
Yeah, absolutely.
taking my thoughts here.
Sure.
Trustee Boris?
No.
Trustee Brendan?
I'm okay with the way Dean had presented it.
And this is going to be a resolution that is, if the board feels at some point that is not working out, we can still amend.
Absolutely. It's not a local law. The section of the code that allows the board to adopt resolutions for procedure, it can be changed just by simple resolution. So, I mean, once we start with this, it really is a starting place. And if it's not working out for this particular board, like I said, we used the language from other boards. If it's not working out for you guys, we can make modifications going forward, but I think we should start somewhere.
So my thought was to go right to the village law where it specifically, absolutely, point blank states how public comment should be handled by village law. And I would say if you want to, instead of amending it later on, I would say start from that point right now. That would be my
So
thought.
what does the village law say exactly?
I don't have the village law. in
Oh,
front of me.
I'm asking the attorney. What does the village
You
law?
know, it's more general, okay? It just guarantees the public the opportunity to speak. But it doesn't have any specific provisions like this addressing the amount of time someone can speak.
5
This is
minutes.
more of a Robert's Rules type thing, and you guys didn't really adopt formally Robert's Rules either at this point, anywhere I can find in village records. So these are the types of things that I'm urging you guys.
So the village law is the law that it's set by the state of New York, right?
Yes, and it functions as a gap filler for anything we don't pass a local resolution on.
Right.
I think there is a specific portion where it states that a person may speak for 5 minutes or 3 minutes. It is specific in there.
And like I said, it's specific unless we pass a resolution otherwise. You know, under the home rule, we can definitely regulate our own procedures for the board. So it's up to you guys.
I think it's going to give, I mean, there are some people who are going to get up and say what they want to say very quickly and sit down. And there are some people who are going to drag on. I mean, every meeting that I've been to, not as a chair of the meeting, but any other, I had a specific time to talk. And I think that gives it a little more structure. Anyways, that's where we are. Great. Now,
Before we go into, ironically, there was a something came up that had been discussed, but it wasn't put on for today's agenda for the resolutions. And I spoke with Rick earlier today, had to do with the need for the porta potties and things for the weekend of the first weekend of the month. And Rick was going to put a resolution together for that. I don't believe that there's sponsors on it at this point. I realize it's last minute, but there is not a meeting prior to that event that we're trying to take control of the issues of the community to make a better community for, cleaner, safer place. And that was one of the things that was utilized in the last year successfully. And I know we've all spoke about it, and I thought we had all agreed on it, but it was not put in a resolution prior to the time, and there is not a meeting prior to, unless we had a special meeting just for that one thing. It seemed kind of silly. So I talked to Rick, and he said he would write it up. So I don't know if that's something that we can deal with today, I know Rick looked for a past resolution, and I don't know if it was done on a purchase order or a resolution, but it was, but he considered that today. And I'm assuming you have that ready, Rick?
Mm-hmm. Brian, can I ask you, is that, I don't know how much funds are expended for this here. I mean, we had a discussion a couple meetings ago where some an organization wanted to utilize the gazebo or the park somewheres and hand out water during Fred Fest, and Trustee Barris spoke out, and it kind of, his feelings were it promoted that, and I had spoke at that time saying that I felt that I really wasn't too great on the fact of providing toilets and that when maybe we could be utilizing that money somewhere else. But I mean, I realize what you had said, that, it keeps people from doing the wrong thing in the places they're not supposed to be. But, I mean, I don't know how much we're expending. If we're expending like $2,000 or something, could you know?
Spend about 900.
I have no idea either,
would
but I
say
mean,
so.
is
I
that
would say
is that a
900.
prudent use of?
I would really have to defer. I can tell you that, I don't know how many we had last year, but there were lines for them to use them. There were literally people standing in line. But I can't remember how many we got. I think we got 6.
I think we have about, a dozen.
Really? That many?
10 or 12,
But your point is well made. It's the same point that the college had, that it's a fine line between providing something to help the taxpayers and not in that they don't have to wake up in the morning to urine soaked, business doors, and also being perceived as encouraging the event to occur. The event meaning the non-Fred Fest celebrations. It's really a fundamental decision that I think you guys, without even knowing the cost of the toilets, I couldn't really weigh in and say whether it's money.
I'm sure it's-
All I can tell
I'm
you
sure
is
it's-
they were standing in line. They were standing in line to use them last.
I'm sure it's not enough to base extra police presence to stop that sort of thing. But I mean, I guess I would be in favor of this only on one condition, that we move forward with the university police and the college president, like meeting with them in the future to try to discourage, I don't know what their plans of action are to, you know what I'm saying? They've
canceled the event. They've canceled the event. There's really nothing more the college can do for us. They literally canceled the event. It has now become its own organism. It is a social media event at this point, and so we own it. And
Well, I'm not pleased with the shift of the problem,
the thing is ever since the drinking age went to 21, this has been a slow creep anyhow, where people have slowly stopped participating in the college's events, coming here and taking their party to the houses, so that they could do underage drinking. So nobody was even going to the campus events anyhow. So they just stopped, they just canceled them. Now this weekend, they're having a concert, which I'm not really thrilled about.
On campus?
But
So that's gonna be drawing in a boatload of people from out of town.
The group has a following. The name of the band is Kid Inc. They have a following. And we may have a busy Saturday. I don't know. I'm now scheduling additional people for Saturday for fear that we're going to have a party atmosphere downtown that I won't be prepared for. And I know we've morphed away from your original question about the Porta Johns, but we morphed away because you kind of took it to another level about what can the college do to help us. Their theory was that if they still let them, the students, that concert's put on by the student association, not by the college. And so what they tried to do is move it away from Fred Fest weekend in an effort to diminish the crowd that showed up for the event. They felt that if they spread out the events over several days, then they wouldn't have the one big event occur. I don't know what's going to happen.
I would like to see like a zero tolerance with any use of emergency services, whether it's police or fire. When a student during Fred Fest initiates a response from either by being arrested or by an EMS call or other, that their zero tolerance they should be kicked out of college, done.
I have a wonderful relationship with the college, and they take incredible action upon their students when their students are violate the laws off campus. We literally have officers that appear at the disciplinary hearings and testify at their request, and they do kick students out of school who are arrested for serious offenses. Obviously, they start a different type of discipline. If it's urinating or underage drinking, it's a different type of discipline. But if it's a violent crime or a major drug issue, they have a disciplinary hearing and they kick them out frequently, and we participate in that process. With the zero tolerance as far as Fred Fest weekend, we are just simply overwhelmed. I mean, we are overwhelmed, and that is with the assistance of the state police and the sheriff's department, and university police. The Dunkirk police are all here. I've already put all those organizations on notice requesting their assistance for next weekend and the following weekend. And the approach we take is, last year we held all the students and made them post bail or be arraigned on the spot. The judge was on call and came in and did arraignments 24 hours a day for those 2 days. So we did take a zero tolerance in the sense that if you got arrested, you stayed locked up unless you could post bail, which we have to allow them to do by law, or you were arraigned. A big part of the problem is they're not Fredonia State students for the most part that get arrested. That's part of my problem.
Well, unfortunately,
The people who come from out of town. We are the biggest problem, as I understand it.
Yeah.
well, we're expending resources here after we just did a lot of cutting to our budget and did not increase people's taxes, and we're expending resources on a problem that really should have been taken care of a long time ago. And I think we need to have a lot more discussions with the college and figure out a solution to this, because if we're cutting departments' budgets and we're spending money on porta potties and garbage cans for an event that really shouldn't be taking place.
And I understand what you say, and actually I agree. The thing is that if we don't spend the money on porta potties, we spend the money in overtime, because our police, the street department has to go out and clean that. Plus a dirty atmosphere in the village. And actually, if you remember, Brad, the college was against porta potties and all that because they thought we are facilitating them. We just thought that the year before last, it was incredibly bad in people doing everything and anything in people's front yards and backyards. And so.
I get it, but we need to take a proactive approach instead of a reactive approach to this problem. It's just like, we're throwing money away.
We're open to ideas.
I think a discussion needs to be had with the college president and the college police chief and figure out
Their
Ongoing
part is done.
discussions. There's been ongoing
They
discussions.
cancel the event. That's it, the part is done. Having said that, they give us help with their police. But there is nothing more that they can do, and I understand that.
They need to speak to their students and have them not promote this event to out-of-town individuals. I think that's where it needs to be done.
That's a
And they-
Facebook thing.
Well, there needs to be ramifications if people are inviting tons of people in here. Something needs to be done. This is just crazy. I can't see I'm not saying it's throwing money away, but I think we need to address the problem and not put a Band-Aid on a situation. That's all I'm saying. And if-
Sure, okay, well, I agree.
Proactive in the stance that you're protecting the community, the people of the community from issues that are going on around them. It's keeping their community clean. It's, it's very unsanitary to have dozens of, what I witnessed personally, just dozens and dozens of people openly in daylight hours urinating in, people's yards and on their houses, on their cars. So what this did last year is what I viewed last year was almost eliminated it. In other words, like Brad said, that they stood in line to use the urinals. And that's what they're intended for. When there's large numbers of people in your community, regardless of what the event is, it doesn't really matter. When you have large numbers of people, the people need to use facilities. That's just human nature. You have to. And if they're not able to get into the bars and restaurants and stuff, then,
Well, there's a difference between a legitimate sponsored event compared to a,
No, I get the legitimate sponsored event part, but,
and what do we do if it keeps getting bigger and bigger? Do we keep providing more do we put porta johns all over the village now and do that?
I think there's been quite an effort on the the police department's part and the university's discussion with the village of trying to curtail the out of control portion of that. But people have the right to do, things.
Plus, we did
And,
other things, excuse me, but we did other things, like we put all the people who were arrested on the Facebook page of the police, so.
The arrest blotter.
Yes.
On Facebook.
I'm not sure if you want to go to the step where you put individual names instead of a picture of a whole.
We talked about, instead of scanning the blotter in, we talked about literally listing them. That difference is 2 years from now, if I went and Googled Brad Myers, it would show me as having been arrested in Fredonia for public urination. Where if I just scan the page in, anybody who wants to go to Fredonia's Police Department Facebook page can look to see if their child was arrested or if their friend was arrested. But 2 years from now, it wouldn't affect their employment opportunities. We could take it to the next level and list their names individually right into the Facebook page so that.
I mean, I don't want to, destroy their future just because they made a stupid decision.
I just.
Right.
I mean, that's
or you
my
know
opinion.
what, we address the out-of-town individuals and you make the penalties steeper. Maybe the judges, I don't know, you make a few examples of a few out-of-town people and,
Well,
I feel
what,
like every year we do, we met for years, we met with the university president, the chief of police, the vice president of student affairs, a couple other individuals who have titles that I can't even remember, and they're in there, a couple of representatives of their student body, and we really tried to find ways to curb this. I will say, and this isn't an excuse, but our event, believe it or not, in comparison to other every college has one of these weekends at it.
And some would have more.
And in comparison to the other communities, we're doing all right. There's a lot more vandalism, a lot more damage, but I'm open to any suggestion anybody wants to do. Right now I have every police officer working 12-hour shifts for those 2 days. They go home, they sleep for 8 hours, and they come back and they work another 12.
That was the first year that they did as much, you know.
Last year was
Last
the
year was the
first
first
year
year we
we
really
did so
took
much, yeah.
took a stance on that, and I think it was effective, but I also think that it's gonna take a little bit of time to really, for everyone to understand each year, because it's not an everyday event, it's, you know, for them to understand, but if they are gonna understand, because his department's doing a great job of enforcing what he has put in
I don't think
place.
anybody's disputing that
No, I
at
don't
all.
feel like you are. I don't feel
By
like
no
you
means
Right.
am I
are. I wasn't taking offense at all.
Thank you. And
And you're going to put
But it's-
a notice in the paper, right, about it?
About
As you
that,
did.
that we'll be
About,
publishing the names again?
no, about the next weekend, that, you know, behave responsibly. I think you did that last year.
Yeah, I think we did it with the leader. Again, the college students don't read the
Right.
local paper.
so, will you be doing it again with the leader then?
Yeah, I'll get
Okay.
together with the leader and do something.
Mm-hmm. Because I think they did recognize that. I know people were talking about it ahead of time prior to, you
Well,
know.
the fear of the
So-
Facebook posting really resonated with
Yes.
them. That's what was a lot last year when we let them know and we published it in the leader that would be publishing names in Facebook. That resonated with the students.
And my guess is that you'd have to do it every year in order for that, because there's always new students. So I think as long as we continue this every year, that it,
We also
it will
reminded them that we have body cameras now and that. there would
It'll
be
bring it back,
footage
you
of
know,
the event and, you know.
into a reasonable amount of control, and I think there'll be less issues.
We can put something on Facebook, on the village Facebook page, because maybe, you know, by Googling Village of Fredonia, they will go to that page as well.
Is it mostly house parties and then it's carried downtown, or is it downtown that floods into house parties?
No.
Is there any pattern to this?
It's house parties, but what happens is the people will come, four or five people will get in a car and drive to Fredonia. They won't even know anybody in Fredonia. They just know that this is the weekend.
And they look for house parties?
And they buy a 30-pack, they put it in their backpack, and then they just walk the streets, and wherever there's a large group of people standing on a lawn, they join that group of people. And they'll sit there and drink their 30-pack, and they'll make friends while they're standing there, but they don't even know anybody, and then they sleep in their cars. And then the next day, they do the same thing, and then on Sunday, they get in their cars and go home. I've really pushed to try and get them towards the bars, but they have no interest in going to the bars because they're drinking for so much less on the front lawn. I had a father one time on White Street come and say, I want all these people off my lawn. And there's 2,000 people on that street. And I couldn't, I'm like, sir, and he's like, my daughter and her 3 roommates don't want a party here. They don't want these people on their property. I want them off my property. And I can move people off the property, but and then as soon as we left, obviously they all moved back on, and I'm like, I can't leave somebody here to make sure nobody stands on your property. You know, it's overwhelming. And what we do is, if White Street gets too big, we call Dunkirk, the state police and the sheriff's department, we meet, and we do a sweep. And we move everybody off of White Street. They all go to Canada Way. And then we'll wait, and in a little while, once they all get organized, we all meet and we do a sweep. And we do that for about 6 hours, and then they go downtown. And then that's it. But for those 6 hours of daylight, depending on the weather conditions, you know,
Hopefully
rain is
rain.
wonderful. Rain is
Yeah.
wonderful.
Cold and rain.
It never rains. But yeah, that's the process. And that's why it is hard to utilize the strength of the disciplinary issues of the campus, because they're not their students. They're just people who come down here.
But it was very helpful that the judge has, last year, first time, has agreed to come and be available to arraign people. So, because up to last year, what we did, we gave them a paper of appearance and they never appeared, or most of them didn't.
Yeah, or they just stayed at the party. Now they're getting handcuffed, they're getting taken to the police department, they're getting processed. And they have to wait and make bail. Sometimes it gets overwhelming, we can't do it. 99% of them happen that way. On occasion, if we're just overwhelmed, we might give you an appearance ticket. But 99% of all arrests came in and were processed last year through the court. Well, and most of them actually came up with bail, but it ruined their night. I mean, they ended up just going home because we took all their money.
Good, very good process. I like it.
Thank you.
Do a lot more of that.
Thank you.
We'll try.
All right.
Okay.
And
So
then
where do we place these children? Where do you normally place them? In the village
in here
and in our
and
municipal
in
law?
municipal lots.
Yeah, there's usually some on Water Street, the west and east
Did we
lot.
put in the
and-
Water Street?
Yeah, there was two down on
Two?
Water Street parking lot. There was, I think there was some in this parking lot here.
One in the post
Several.
office.
No, did we put one in the post office?
Yeah.
I don't know if you did.
Well,
We didn't have it
There's a little spot of ours.
Right.
You know.
without doing it right in the driveway. The driveway is ours. I think we ended up putting them here.
Here, for sure, yes, we
Yeah.
did put here. I
We put
remember.
them here.
Yeah.
We put them in the two municipal lots. We put them on the Water Street lot.
In the Water Street, right.
I think we had 3 in each of those lots.
And overall, just one of them was vandalized, was
One
10.
got knocked over.
Yes, yeah, knocked over, yeah. All right, well, let's move along.
So, do you want to pass a resolution? Go ahead and get those.
I would.
I put a call into the guy,
Mhm.
so I don't know how much they cost this year.
But it was 900 last year.
I think so,
Yeah.
yeah, for a dozen of them.
That's right.
I think $75 a piece, plus you're gonna end up paying for one pumping during the time period that we have it.
All right. So, and then the new business, we have the police department report for March 2018. Then for old business, it's really bad that Carrie's not here because she was asking updates on all these projects. I can do Barking Common Main Street Anchor project. Just last week, the Supervisor Stager and I signed the contract, so now it's in the state, and we're going to move ahead with the planning, with the design of the parks. So as soon as they are ready, they're going to put a preliminary design together, and then it's going to be a public hearing, a public meeting. They're going to come here and then go down to the park to explain and take our input and the input of the people of the village. Now, reservoir. Who wants? I have no idea where we're going.
Reservoir was waiting on the federal government to start doing something on infrastructure. And so Brian and Gear is in a holding pattern until they see some movement at the federal level, which they say that they haven't seen yet. So, so that's kind of, I mean, if we wanted to move forward with that without funding, which I don't know whether that's a good idea.
No.
Because otherwise, once you start doing stuff, anything that you do prior to getting that grant would not be reimbursable under that grant, so it would be on your nickel totally. And then if whatever portion you got as a grant would also have your portion of whatever contribution you have to make toward that project. So that's where that sits. I mean, if we want O'Brien and Gear to go, they'll give us a proposal, but I don't want O'Brien and Gear. This is not a small proposal. This is going to be a big proposal with a lot of money and a lot of effort that goes
So they're
into it.
currently looking for a grant.
They're waiting for federal money to become available. There is no,
So the federal money is going to become available through the state?
well, right now they're waiting for movement in the federal level to say, yes, they're going to do this, and then they will apply for however they have to apply for it to get it into the village.
There was a win, act
Yes.
or whatever.
Yes.
probably 6 months ago.
Yeah.
It was just, it passed in both houses. I think was just waiting for the president to sign it. I don't know where that process had.
He has
ended.
on here, we'll keep watching for progress on the wind funding and the program, that we'll keep watching for progress. That's exactly right. But there hasn't been anything that came out on anything related to our reservoir.
Okay, I'm a little concerned as to how we're going to apply as the village. But if they say that
Well,
they
the
have a
federal money
way,
has to be allocated before the state gets it, and then they'll apply wherever they have to apply for it. That's their job. That's what we hire them for.
all right. And then the village holds steps.
Yeah, I have calls into 2 contractors. Both of them came here last fall. Haven't heard from them. I don't know where that sits. I have 2 calls into them right now and
Maybe
waiting
find
for their
a
return
third
call.
one.
What's that?
Maybe to find a third one.
Well, I don't know whether or not we should maybe get an engineer involved and then just go out for a formal bid process. That's gonna add money to the process, but maybe that will get us somebody from out of town.
I was gonna say-
I mean, you try to do these things with local contractors because obviously you wanna support local
Yes, of course.
contractors, but if you can't get them here, I guess you have to try to spread out and
So
basically put it
should
out
we
there.
write an RFQ, an RFP for
I don't
that?
think we have the ability to do that. I'm not an engineer, and neither is anybody on our staff. So we would have to hire an engineer to actually tell us what needs to get done. They would put bid specs together. Those bid specs would go out to all over the place. Gets listed online, and then anybody that wants to bid on it can come in and take a look at it and bid on it. But that's nothing that we can do ourselves.
Oh, no, of course not. The thing is, if we don't go this avenue, and I mean, I want the board to think about it, how we can be sure that spending our $50,000 is not going to end up not the right thing to do? Like, not the way Mr. Caropella stopped by a little before the winter, and he said that it was the mistake, the steps were built wrongly. There was a mistake. So how can we avoid that if we don't go to an engineer, somebody who we can go responsible? You know, I'm an engineer, I put my signature there, something happens, they call me. I mean, that's what I'm just afraid we're going to spend money without somebody to be held responsible for. And that's an extra expense, and engineers are not cheap.
Well, you have 2 situations here. If we don't fix it, that'll eliminate at this point, it almost looks like the steps are coming loose on the other side. So you
Yeah.
eliminate an
Yeah,
entry
that's-
exit.
You're right.
So you
We're
have a
not-
problem there. But
Yep.
if this $50,000 was for an emergency fix, and eventually, if you go the engineering firm wise, it might be per the historical, the way that it was supposed to be built. Maybe is historical funding to repair it the proper way historically, which eventually we probably will have to, I would think,
And safely,
safely.
yeah.
So I mean, but in the meantime, if that reduces an entry-exit of the building here, that might be a major issue as well. So, I mean, we're kind of stuck. You may have to do an emergency repair to keep the entrance open, I don't know.
Keep it from deteriorating more.
And deteriorating more.
From what Mr. Caropella told me, he said, I wouldn't do it. You have to undo everything, you have to take everything down, put new supports that go all the way from one end to the other, and then build the steps on top of them.
So it sounds like it's a boatload more than $50,000.
That's right.
$50,000 may be just
That's
the
why I said, I
the
just,
engineering costs and getting
Yeah.
the preliminary stuff taken care of.
I pulled that
Can
number out of
we
the
ask
air.
as to how much it's going to cost?
Yeah, we could get a proposal from an engineer.
Yeah, maybe
And
we
then as
should do
part of
that.
that, they would give you an estimate on how much it should approximately cost you.
I mean, because,
Sounds like the right way to go is ask for a proposal from an engineer.
because if we go much further into the season, then we won't find anybody to come and construct them. And then we're stuck for another year,
Mhm.
like that. So if the board is okay with that, I think we should ask for engineering proposal. What do you think?
Yes.
Yes.
What do you think, Rob?
Yes.
Yep,
Okay.
I think so.
Everett? Thank you. Okay, right. And then the Hamlet Park sign, what are we doing with that? I know we
It's the
cleaned
same
it.
people. It's the same people.
Oh,
Yeah, but
So
we
that's
don't-
the same-
I don't think we need an
We
engineer.
don't need an
to-
engineer
to
there.
put a-
No, we still can't get a
No,
hold
but I
of
mean,
people
it's
to
still the
come back.
same contractors that do that work.
oh, maybe then we should ask for,
Can that, is that something that we could just advertise out for somebody else if they don't want to do it? I mean, if they can't seem to get to us, I'm sorry. I mean, I would love to use local in-town,
I know.
businesses. I
We
mean,
gave them ample time.
yeah, well, this is the thing, on both of these projects, we're sitting here a long time. And I know that they're local businesses, and I would think that they'd want to have their, business do that. But, there's, these things have, you sit here for a year with these things not repaired, we need to move on.
Absolutely.
so let's ask the same people, this construction people, if they have some time to come and fix our sign before the summer, so we look a little better. And then the DPW dump site. Hello?
Well, you asked me to come up with some ideas what to do there. As everybody knows, we've terminated the dumping there for a temporary basis because it got out of control when we were trying to pick up the storm damage. And what I mean by out of control is people were bringing furniture, appliances, house garbage. We found dead animals in there. And that's unacceptable. You got neighbors that live in that neighborhood that live around our property, and they have to put up with that pile all year round. So I terminated the dumping there until we get it under control, until we come up with a way of controlling it. My way of controlling it, we are putting, I believe we're putting a fence up this year with gates. At least now we can control the time that they're dumping, and we'll have access to our yard when we're not there or on weekends. So we'll be there to somewhat supervise what's being done there. I think we would need to outline before that happens, though, a guideline and make it public what you can and what you can't dump, who can dump there. Because you get contractors that are contracting out to our residents that are picking up their yard debris and charging them for removal and then bringing it and dumping it for free. And then we've got to dispose of it, and at cost to the village. Just for easy argument, or for a sake of discussion, I did a 6-month survey while we were cleaning our yard up before the storm occurred. And we moved 136 loads out of our shop at 86 hours manpower. That's 3 guys, 86 hours for a 6-month period. That cost of the village was the 3 guys I can't use on other jobs. And if we continue to allow the unchecked dumping in our shop, that's going to take a good chunk of our time away from other jobs. I think we need to create a policy and also make it public that we're going to enforce it. So if someone gets caught dumping illegally, they're going to have to pay the consequences. Because this is costing the village a lot of money to remove that debris from our yard.
Harry, why aren't we just going back to curbside pickup?
We do curbside pickup.
I know, but why don't we just say
We
the
do it
village
first
shop
full
is
month-
shut?
First full week of every month, starting in April and concluding in October. Sometimes we'll do it in November depending on the weather. Well, Mother Nature took care of our April pickup when she said it was a snowstorm.
Right.
So my priority is public safety, had to go to road plowing. We will be out on the road May 7th through the 11th doing a curbside pickup. But the survey that I did for the 6-month period, that we were doing this was the 6 months we did curbside pickup.
So this
That's
is
in
on
addition
top.
to
Okay.
the curbside pickup takes, we pick up curbside Monday through Thursday. We do one section each day. It takes 5 hours and 8 guys to go house to house. And this was in conjunction with what we picked up curbside.
But see, if
But
you're
then
picking
again-
up curbside, at least you know that that's coming from the village. The other way, you
Correct.
have no idea. You're
Yes,
taking
you're
stuff from the
absolutely
whole
correct.
North County. I'm convinced that we're taking.
I've gotten a lot of heat this last week or so, especially this past today, because of the good weather this weekend. And and I feel sorry for the fact that these people can't bring the stuff to our shop. until we can put it in check and control what's being done in our yard, on our premises. You know, it's no different than going to your neighbors and dumping it. It's, you know,
I think
we
I
have neighbors
agree
that have to
with,
reside in that neighborhood, and they complain.
Coming up with a
Rick's
policy.
heard the complaints from them. You know, during the summer, it stinks. You get rats infested in it, and there's kids in this neighborhood, you know.
no, it's not fair. It's not fair
No.
to you guys, it's not fair to the neighborhood, it's not fair for the village to pay. At the same time, we should be, you know, mindful of the people that don't have a front yard, or there is some reason for them to not be able to do that. And I think personally I agree with the policy. I like when a policy is set, because then you know when something is off that policy, and how we enforce that policy. I mean, I think that's my main issue. Now, do you think that if we put the fence and the gates there, the policy is going to be easier to enforce? Is it going to need a camera? I mean, what do you think?
I would think it would make sense, it would be easier, you're able to control. It would make sense, it would be easier to control, you're able to control during the day when people are there, you restrict them from off hours. But then again, I think if we kind of concentrate on the curbside pickup, it might not be an issue, because the issue was illegal dumping from contractors and people out of town. So to have that open like that, if we can concentrate and do it efficiently and effectively, the curbside pickup both of limbs and bag debris, that should be the perfect solution to all this problem. Well,
And we've got a good system for doing the curbside. It takes 5 hours, 4 days a week, 1 week.
Yeah.
But it's a lot more efficient than it used to be when we used to just go random street to street.
No, I like the way that
Yeah,
you
system
map
we
the
follow.
village. Yes, map the village, and then we
People
go
know when
out.
it's gonna go. And as Doug's saying, we may see a big drop in what's coming into our yard if we do
I am sure.
control with the gates. And when we're out doing curbside, there's no need to have the gates open.
Yeah,
Gates can stay
I just
closed
want to
while we're
make
out
sure
there.
that the people, and maybe 10 people in the village, that they need to use that, they're still able to come and use it. I mean, we have to think of all our people. I agree with the curbside. I think it's the best way to do it. But maybe we should have some hours when people who can't do it otherwise can come and absolutely no contractors, at least for now. Do you agree with that?
I would have to know the circumstances of people that can't put it out to the curb. I mean,
I'll give you an example. There's a resident on Chestnut that owns 4 acres of land. He had a permit years ago to burn on his property. And I guess the story goes, if he got one complaint, he lost his permit. And the neighbor did complain. Now he's got 4 acres of brush that he would like to bring down to our facility, and he can't bring it. So he was wondering when, if possible, do we have a Webster Road location he could bring it to? Is there another location that you could help him with? You're not going to be picking up 4 acres of brush on the front of his yard, I'll tell you that much.
We have a parcel of land on Webster Road that we do use where we haul our bulk brush, and we do haul our lawn debris. The lawn debris at Butler Shop gets taken up there as well. But that's right now in some need of some remedial work. You don't want private citizens going in and out.
No, no, no.
because
You don't
of
No,
want
of
people
course not.
going.
insurance reasons and everything else.
All right, well, that's fine. I mean, he asked me.
But I feel sorry for him. Yeah, I have 4 acres of land that I have to take care of the brush on as well.
Right.
The difference, I compost my own. Right, in the back property, I compost my lawn debris, and I keep my wood separate, and then I use that throughout the course of the year for kindling for campfires.
However, not everybody can do that.
That's my point.
And
You're
to
correct,
me,
you're correct.
and to
I'm
me,
saying, I feel that for this
Sure.
guy. 'cause it's
But
property.
I told him tonight I would ask you, and
That-
I was going to come back with an answer tonight.
that's an exception that we have to make an exception for, I feel, because, if I have a little bit of brush, it's be much easier for me to put it in my front yard. I know you're coming to pick it up instead of putting it in my truck and start coming down. So it's going to be automatically easier for the people to just put it in the front yard. However, if they have this problem or something like that, at least there is a possibility for them, maybe one day a week, or
That's
when.
something we would have to discuss, and the policy would have to address that.
Yes.
What was this gentleman's problem? That he used to be able to burn it, now he can't, and now he would like to take it to the village parks.
Well, he was, years ago, he was allowed to burn on his property. He had a permit to burn.
And now you can't
He
burn.
can't
this.
burn anymore. For the past few years, he's been bringing his brush down in the spring to our Eagle Street location, and he had a whole trailer load ready to go, and he shows up down there and realizes he can't dump there. Now he's got a trailer load sitting in his yard going, where am I gonna go with this stuff? And I said, I have a meeting tonight, and when I get done, I'll have an answer for you.
I don't think this gentleman is going to be the problem. The problem is the dead animals and the garbage
Right.
and the refrigerators and the contractors who go and get money from the people and then dump it to us. I mean, this is what we need to stop.
Once we're gated in and we have control, that's gonna change.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then you'll have an option.
Right.
But until that point, I don't like the idea of opening that up.
No, I
Get
agree.
that control.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I just, like I said, he had a question. There's just a
But
perfect
then,
example of someone
You guys have
who...
the ultimate decision, I understand that.
All right. So that's it. And now it's about time to go to. Are you ready to go to the meeting? Ready to go to the meeting?
Yes.
Straight? Okay. All right, please rise. Okay, I call this meeting to order. At the regular meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Fredonia, duly called and held on the 23rd of April 2018 at 7:30 p.m. in the Trustees Room, second floor, Village Hall, Fredonia, New York, and public notice of the time and place of this meeting has been given to the news media and conspicuously posted in one or more designated public locations in accordance with Section 104 of the Open Meetings Law. Now Christina is not here, so. who-
Oh, okay, go ahead. Okay.
Whereas members of this board present at this meeting have read the official minutes of the Board of Trustees regular meeting of April 9th, 2018. Now, therefore, be it resolved, this board approves the minutes as entered into the official minutes, and be it further resolved that the reading of the minutes be dispensed with.
I second.
I vote aye.
Trustee Linden.
Aye.
Trustee Briggs.
Yes.
Trustee Essek.
Yes.
Reports.
We have the police report for the month of March. There were a total of 765 incidents reported, 17 accidents, 38 arrests, 36 vehicle and traffic, and 83 parking tickets.
Thank you.
That's it for reports.
There's no correspondence, so I'd like to open the public portion. Anybody from the public who wants to make a statement or question? Please, then, can you please state your name first?
I'm Sharon Anir. I live at 43 Central Avenue, and it's a rather large property. In my garage currently is the results of cleaning my flower beds and my garden space. There are 33 bags like this stuffed to the brim. I lost a lot of branches from trees during the storm, and I hired a contractor, $200. He took them away. He dressed up with his saw all the places on my trees so that they're in good shape. But I will continue all summer long, depending on the variety of plant, I will be pruning, and they will be going into bags like this. Now, you'll see this says City of Alexandria, Virginia, which is where I used to live. And the city gave these out free, and you set them out on the curb for your normal trash pickup, which you paid for. So if a business was having their trash picked up privately, they weren't charged for that. If they were a condominium who had a private contractor picking things up for them, they weren't charged. They went from it, trash pickup being part of the city budget to a special fee, only for the people that were picked up. The apartment dwellers, the condo dwellers, and the businesses, some were in, some businesses were out. And I had, they give them out free, I had a lot. They were carrying it away, and it was a one-use proposition, but it was taken to a recycling yard that the city operated, and it could deteriorate right along with the leaves and the twigs and so forth. And then we could buy it for a load of mulch for $40 the next year, and that would cover their delivery cost and empty out their yard. I now get anywhere from 5 to 10 go-rounds on a sack like this. I fill it up, and I've been taking it to your yard and enjoying dumping it. And I do the work instead of your guys, which is saving you money. You're not having to buy these. Something similar is available at Home Depot. I would not use plastic. Two of my neighbors down Curtis have gobs of plastic bags out there. Are we really going to just go back to putting more plastic into our environment? I hope not. Your guys, when they pick them up, it'll be easy to pick up. But then you're going to have to open them, stand and open them up when you get there. And I'm not blaming your fellows, but I would like to see us have, for our citizens, the best possible service. And your folks try hard. But sometimes when it rains, and it rains a lot here, that isn't possible. Sometimes when you say you're coming, you don't show up on that day because of weather. Sometimes when you do show up, when you say you're going to, I can't respond because I've got a big property, I'm 75 years old, I have 2 artificial hips, my knee is going out, I have 3 tears in my rotator cuff on the right arm, 2 tears on the rotator cuff on my left arm, because when I go for it, I go for it. And I've put as much as 12 and 18 hours in a stretch in trying to shape up my yard when I bought that house. And then turned around and went to Alexandria, 7 hours behind the wheel, and put in another 18 hours on my property there to get it ready to sell. And my doctor and my physical therapist say, I can't do that. But when I have to meet his schedule, you make me do that. That's one of the reasons why being out on the curb isn't the best thing for everybody. Last fall, my next door neighbor left for Florida, and their very good landscape people came about 3 days later and did what they thought was the final cleanup, and they didn't carry it away. City comes, they were told. And so they put it all on the curb. Except city, for whatever reason, I think it was because we had a broken water main and your guys had to be elsewhere, not your fault. Water mains get old, and you never know when they're going to go. Instead of just cleaning my yard twice to cope with the normal fall from 23 trees, that's a lot of leaves, I had to rake my entire yard 5 times because the leaves of my neighbor were upwind and blew into my yard. Finally, when I got my own yard cleaned up, I took most of his stuff as well in my little bags with the last of my energy so that it wouldn't keep blowing all over the neighborhood. Now, if I put that bag out and it rains, we're going to have a problem. 33 bags of leaves just upended on my grass are going to blow all over the neighborhood, and I'm going to be real unpopular. And anybody of my neighbors who do it and blow it into my yard, trust they're going to be unpopular. Because I'm not going through another 5 rounds of raking the yard. Those 33 bags in my garage are only for my flower beds. My grass was pristine by the time I got done last fall and the snow came down. And I had some twigs to get off, but I hired this nice young man, and he took away all the twigs and all the limbs that were broken, etc., etc. In talking with my neighbors, I want to let you know, and many of them wish they could have been here tonight, but they didn't know about it until they got home from work, and they couldn't jump out of their garden clothes like I did in 20 minutes and make a change to get down here. But they're unhappy that they're not going to be able to just for free do the work for you and take their stuff down. They're good gardeners. And you say, well, leaves and twigs. But there's weeds, constant weeding. There's grass clippings. My grandchildren mow my grass for me. But the clippings have to go somewhere, and I just flip them into a bag, and away I go the next day. Everybody I've talked to about this has ideas about how it could be done differently than what you're planning to do that they feel would be better. Maybe cheaper, maybe split the difference and not be able to go 7 days a week like we have been any old time to dump a bag. Maybe 4 hours a day it could be unlocked, and 2 days a week plus all day on Saturday it could be open, and we could all adapt to that. We want to do our own dumping. Hire someone young, just getting started, who wouldn't be terribly expensive, to be there during a 4-hour period to keep away the bad guys. I'm not quite sure legally, given what we went through in Alexandria, having to change from trash pickup and leaf pickup and everything being part of the city budget to having it be a separate fee thing, because we were told by our city attorney that what you do for one you got to do for all. So if a businessman was there and could adapt, then he had to be covered by it. So I'm not quite sure if the contractor was a Fredonia business, where you'd be at, and I think
It's more than one.
but
It's more than one contractor.
I really wish you would give this more thought. The general public in this town does not know that a fence is in the offing, that it's in the budget. They haven't learned about it until just the last 3 days, various and assorted. I think my son talked to you, Mr. Essex, the other day. And he just learned about it from me 24 hours before that. I think you need more of a chance to hear from the public. I think there are lots of ways that you could allow for this situation, and not just for the one guy who's got 4 acres of brush, kind of thing, or for Mrs. Anir with her knees going and her hips already gone and all of that kind of thing. But I think that there are ways that you could do this, that you would be able to continue to offer the best services to the citizens and worry about the citizens first ahead of worrying about the contractors.
That's part of it, though. That is part of it, because our citizens pay for our contractors. Our citizens pay to clean up what the contractors put there. I personally, I agree with everything that you said. I want the citizens to be able to go there if they are citizens
In the
from the
meantime,
village.
I want you to find an answer of what I'm going to do with the 33 bags that are in my garage right now.
That
Because I do
gentleman
have
over
a big
there.
garage, but it's not that big. And I continue every week to produce another 5 to 8 bags like that as I do my pruning and my weeding and et cetera, et cetera. So more is coming, and my husband is going to run out of space for the car pretty soon.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
I'm prepared to support your campaign for village trustee in November 2019.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Anybody else from the public? So I close the public portion, and let's go to resolutions, please.
Okay?
Yes, please.
A resolution adopting a budget for the fiscal year commencing June 1st, 2018, and ending May 31st, 2019, making appropriations for the conduct of village government and establishing the rates of compensation for officers and employees for such period. Whereas this board has met at the time and place specified in the notice of public hearing on the tentative budget and heard all persons desiring to be heard thereon. Now, therefore, be it resolved that a tentative budget as amended and revised and as attached hereto made a part thereof is hereby adopted, and that several amounts stated in the column titled Adopted in Schedules 1A, 2A, 1F, 2F, 1G, 2G, and 3C, together with the amounts set forth in Schedule C, as required for the payment of principal and of interest on indebtedness by, and they hereby are appropriated for the objects and the purposes specified, and the salaries and wages stated in Schedule 6 of such budget shall be and are hereby fixed at the amount shown therein, effective June 1st, 2018.
Upon roll call, the following votes were cast to wait. No, trustee Christina is not here. Oh, I'm sorry.
I second his, no.
Motion?
Thank you.
I vote aye.
Trustee Linden.
Aye.
Voting. Trustee Essek.
Yes.
Trustee Bridge.
Yes.
Trustee Barris, yes. So the motion was thereof declared duly adopted by a 4-0 vote. Trustee Linden.
Be it resolved that the regular and overtime payrolls of the various village departments and bills approved by the Finance Committee and set forth in abstract number 500 is hereby approved.
I second the motion. I vote aye.
Trustee Linden.
Aye.
Trustee Bridge.
Yes.
Trustee Essek.
Yes.
Trustee Essek.
A resolution levying the total taxes and other charges extended and levied against each parcel of real property shown on a roll prepared and verified by the assessors for the 2018-19 fiscal year. Be it resolved that there be levied and assessed against the real property of the Village of Fredonia the following sums for village government and other charges for the fiscal year 2018-2019 at a tax rate of $35.19 per thousand assessed valuation. Total taxes for current budget, $838,998.50. Delinquent water rents and charges, $111,950.78. Delinquent sewer rents and charges, $129,125.05. Re-levied invoices, $1,269.06. Total real property taxes and other charges on the roll, $3,081,343.39. And be it further resolved that the receiver of taxes be and is hereby directed to levy, assess, and apportion upon the real and personal property liable to taxation in the Village of Fredonia a tax rate of $35.19 per $1,000 of valuation upon said assessment roll, and be it further resolved that the warrant to the tax receiver be executed and delivered to the tax receiver for the collection of unpaid taxes and assessment, water and sewer rentals outstanding and unpaid together with the interest and penalties as provided by law, and be it further resolved that the mayor is hereby authorized to execute a warrant to the receiver of taxes, which warrant shall also be endorsed by the Board of Trustees as required by law, and be it further resolved that the village clerk is hereby authorized to deliver said warrant to the receiver of taxes as required by law.
Second?
Upon roll call, the following votes were cast with. Trustee Linden voting.
Aye.
Trustee Essek voting.
Yes.
Trustee Britt voting.
Yes.
Trustee Barris
Aye.
voting. The motion was thereupon declared duly adopted by 4-0 vote.
Be it resolved that the mayor is hereby authorized to sign the temporary loan of student artwork for the loan of SUNY student artwork to be displayed in the Fredonia Village Gallery, and be it further resolved that the Village of Fredonia assumes no liability against loss of, theft of, or damage to the artwork while it is in the village's possession.
Second that motion.
Trustee Barris.
Aye.
Trustee Linden.
Aye.
Trustee Britt.
Yes.
Trustee Essek.
Yes.
Okay, so who is prepared to sponsor this resolution? Trustee Barris?
I am, yeah.
Anybody second the resolution?
I will. Okay. Whereas the Board of Trustees for the Village of Fredonia are authorized by Chapter 63, Section 1D, to determine the rules of procedure for the conduct of its meetings, and whereas the Board believes that the standardization of a policy concerning the submission of resolutions will increase understanding among village officials and the public, and whereas the Board believes that the standardization of discussions regarding resolutions will increase communication while affording trustees and the public their right to speak. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Village Board of Trustees of the Village of Fredonia hereby adopts the following procedure regarding resolutions. 1. Any single trustee may sponsor a resolution to be placed on the agenda of the next regularly scheduled board meeting. Any such resolution shall be submitted to the village clerk no later than 1 p.m. on the Wednesday prior to said meeting. 2. Any resolution submitted after the deadline shall require 2 trustees as sponsors. 3. During the workshop, prior to the regular meeting, trustees shall have the opportunity to discuss any proposed resolution along with any other village business. 4. Members of the public will be afforded their opportunity to speak on any action taken or contemplated by the board during the public comments portion of the regular meeting, subject to the following rules, which shall be read at each meeting immediately prior to the opportunity for public comment. A. This portion of the meeting is for public comment. Any member of the public wishing to speak once recognized shall stand and state their name and address. B. Speakers will be allowed 3 minutes if speaking for themselves, or 5 minutes if speaking on behalf of a group. The mayor will determine, in her discretion, if individuals are speaking for themselves or representing a group. C, the mayor shall keep good order and may require a speaker to stop speaking if remarks are in poor taste, slanderous, or not germane to any action taken or contemplated by the board. 5, during the meeting, once a resolution has been proposed and seconded, each trustee shall be given the opportunity to publicly state their position regarding the proposed resolution. Once all trustees in attendance have had the opportunity to be heard, a roll call vote will be conducted.
And I second.
Trustee Barris.
Aye.
Trustee Linden.
Aye.
Trustee Briggs.
Just one question. Dan, you mentioned that this may be a chance to alter it at any time, or just bring this back up as a discussion
Oh,
further?
absolutely. It's just a simple resolution, so if we get down the road and you want to change something, you just can change it by another resolution.
Then I vote aye.
Thank you. Trustee Essek.
No.
So it's adopted by 3-1. And the last one.
And the last
Trustee Linden.
resolution.
Yes.
Be resolved that the village administrator is hereby authorized to rent up to 12 portable toilets for the period of May 4th and May 5th, 2018.
I second the resolution. I vote aye.
Trustee Linden.
Aye.
Trustee Briggs.
Yes.
Trustee Essek.
Yes.
So the resolution is passed. And I have no further business, so can I have an adjournment?
I move to adjourn.
Second.
Trustee Barris.
Aye.
Trustee Linden.
Aye.
Trustee Briggs.
Yes.
Trustee Essek.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much for coming.